Once customers use Klaviyo a lot, we actually start recommending that they have these separate segments. So one would be an email preferred customer and one would be an SMS preferred customer. So as some people's preferred channel is one or the other. They don't go for email or they don't go for SMS.
This is just the beginning.
Welcome back to another episode of the E-commerce Revolution podcast. I'm your host, Ramin, and thanks for tuning in. If you're watching this on YouTube, take a moment and subscribe to our channel. And if you're watching or listening to this on any other network, please take a moment and review if you like what you hear. Today's episode is all about the fast-growing own marketing channel known as SMS. When we say fast-growing, well, consider these amazing statistics from a recent study. 91% of customers would opt in for text messages from a brand. 91%. 34% of people read their messages within 5 minutes of receiving them. And it's amazing. I mean, I like to keep my SMS inbox clean. I don't like those dots there. I want to move everything out and look at everything. And 58% of consumers believe that SMS is the most effective way for a brand to communicate with them. So these three speak to how quickly this channel is growing. So our guest is making his second appearance, which is a first in our young history here. He's an engagement and SMS specialist at Klaviyo. We are excited to have him back here on the show. So without any further ado, please welcome Jack Binda. Jack, great to have you back on again.
Thanks for having me. Let me become a recurring guest.
I mean, we might have you on more and more. You're like one of those guys, you're going to come in and, you've got something new to say about SMS. So we will just keep asking until you tell us, no, that's enough. I can't do any more podcasts with you. But awesome to have you back. Thank you for coming on. And, last time we had you on, we took quite a bit of time about talking about Klaviyo's, email and SMS. We included both, but I thought, this channel is growing so quickly and there's so much attention around it that we should really just do, a good old deep dive into SMS and really understand what makes this channel work and why, people and merchants should adopt it quickly if they haven't done so already. So you ready to dive in?
I'm ready.
All right. Love it. Love it. So before we get started on those details about SMS, I noticed that Klaviyo, since the last time we spoke, has done a rebrand, I guess, of their logo, or their branding is completely changed, which looks very cool. Tell me a little bit about that and how that came about.
Yeah, so Klaviyo decided that it needed a rebrand probably about a year, or a little bit over a year ago. The old one it's been around for a while, and we wanted to kind of revamp and restructure ourselves now that we've released two products. So we're not just email focused anymore. So we decided to make it look like a flag, as Klaviyo will be like the flagship marketing solution for you. So where you can have your all-in-one customer data platform, email marketing, SMS marketing, and as we release new products down the line, really just be this your home base for all things e-com.
Nice. Yeah, I read about the flag and behind it. I'm glad you're sharing it because a lot of thought goes into rebranding. Obviously, it's not just somebody sits around and says, let's just do a flag. How about that? Let's just put it together. But I get the connection there, and it makes absolute sense. I mean, you guys have two very important channels, for the brand, and to make that connection there, I think it's a great idea. So it looks very cool. We're in the midst of updating all of our partner badges as well, and as everywhere I go, I take a look and see, do these people have the new Klaviyo badge up yet? No, they don't. They need to get on that. So very cool. And last time you were on, you told us that Klaviyo was doubling down. Those of you who are doubling down on SMS. How is that initiative going? The doubling down. What is happening right now? What's coming that kind of still fits into that doubling down concept?
Yeah, so we're constantly looking to improve our product, and we listen to our customers all the time about, hey, what needs to be fixed. So a reason why we're doubling down is we want to start slowly but surely taking it from just the US, Canada, UK, and Australia and start expanding into more of the European and APAC regions by adding on other providers, which would provide additional throughput. You can send your messages faster. You'll have higher deliverability. and you'll be able to hit them all over the world, not just in those 4 regions right now.
Okay.
Yeah.
That's for SMS. SMS is tied to those regions currently, right now. Not email. Email is, you can do email anywhere, but just the SMS side, right?
Correct, strictly for SMS. And then we're
Okay.
also planning on allowing MMS for those international regions as well. So right now, MMS is only capable for the United States and Canada, but we've been actively working with providers in the UK and Australia to allow MMS be going through to those international customers as well.
So I'm just curious. I mean, this is, me being curious here. So do you guys literally have to go to providers and negotiate in each of these countries? Kind of, if there are multiple service providers, you have to negotiate with each one of them?
Yeah, so you have to go in and make sure you're compliant country by country. So you need to go in and make sure that each country you're meeting their TCPA and GDPR compliance checklist, which is they're all very similar, but there's just a couple nuanced changes that you need to do for country for country. So that's one thing that we need to make sure before we launch in any country that we have everything tied up is we build compliance into the product. We like to make it so that any person who uses Klaviyo doesn't have to worry about, oh, am I sending this to the wrong region? Am I breaking compliance? We want to make sure that it's automatically filtered out within Klaviyo. So having
Mhm.
that, having those checklists just be built into the product is something that's big for us. And that's why we've been kind of slowly releasing countries as we go on.
That's great. Well, I mean, that should, make merchants feel better. I mean, that's, we get that question a lot. How does compliance work? Do we need to worry about it? And sometimes, I feel that, if merchants aren't getting this answer, they may be holding them back from moving forward on SMS. So the fact that, you guys take, and have to take that time to get everything right and make sure you're compliant should really make merchants feel better. That this is this is the name of the game. If there's a rule that you can't send a SMS message after a certain time on on certain days in that particular region or in that country, that you guys already know about it and it's baked into the system, right?
Correct. So we have toggles within every campaign that you send. Anything that you can toggle on and off means that it's not required. Anything that you cannot toggle on and off means that it is required. So for example, if you are sending to the UK requires a second message to be sent with an unsubscribe link. We
Oh wow.
automatically send that within Klaviyo's system itself because we can recognize by geo targeting and the phone number that this is a UK phone number. We need to make sure that we're compliant with their phone provider.
Yeah. So all these rules that fall under compliance, they're really just because it's a very intimate form of communication, right? It's sitting in your pocket and it's available at all times. That you really want to make sure that it doesn't get abused, right, by merchants or anybody utilizing and leveraging SMS. Is that really the basis of all of this?
Yeah, it's very intimate. SMS is very personal. Like if I don't give everybody my phone number, but I'll give more people my email than I would from my phone number. So I kind of like to think of it as like compliance is sort of like a first date. Like you have to ask for her phone number or like his or her phone number before you can just like it'd be a lot weirder if you just went in and typed in your phone number in their phone behind their back. Um, so like that's how we
Right.
like to think of compliance is like you need to have explicit consent to get that to send them that text and to capture that phone number rather than doing it behind their back like buying a list or anything like that. Like that's a hard no within Klaviyo. Basically, if there's no timestamp associated with it within Klaviyo, we will not even allow you to send to that person.
Wow. Well, I'm glad you're saying all this because, again, we have experienced that question a number of times, and that we read up on the documentation, so we're feel very well versed. But I think it's also great for merchants out there to know that it's okay, and also consumers too. That you're not going to get bombarded. This is really a quick and fast way to get information from a brand, and we're seeing more and more adoption. Obviously, I shared those statistics, and maybe maybe it's at 90%, in 3 years. And that becomes actually the more dominant form of communication for a brand. Maybe email, slowly, slides, to the left, if you will. And, this is, SMS becomes more and more important. So great to know that that's happening. You guys, obviously have to pay close attention. So let's just talk about strategy for a moment. Give me an idea here. We when we build out email flows, and for anybody who doesn't know, flow is, for example, a welcome series is a flow of emails that go through a sequence, at a specific time, abandoned cart flows, and many, many others. How does strategy differ between an email flow and an SMS flow? Do you build the email first and then just follow suit with SMS?
So we recommend you build them together, and kind of have some cohesive strategy within your flows. So we recommend using email first. Email
Okay.
is a lot cheaper to send. So your ROI per customer that purchases will be higher. So it makes the business more money. And then it also is a less intrusive channel. So if we can convert as many people through email, we're going to save that spamminess per se from SMS by saying, hey, if they haven't opened or if they haven't engaged in this email, then let's say, hey, we don't want you to miss this with a text. Like we sent you this email of you left this item behind, get it before it sells out. And kind of make it so that it's not replacing or competing with email, but it's almost supplementing it and enhancing both your email and your SMS strategy.
That's great. Now, I love that word supplement. That's a great way of looking at it. And, we do that, we would try to follow that, that game plan when we're building out for merchants. Now, tell me about campaigns. A little different, campaigns, email and SMS. Again, are you building out your email first, and then do you guys recommend then kind of adding on using that same supplement philosophy?
Yeah, so we have two strategies that we recommend within Klaviyo. So the first would be a similar strategy of send out the email first and then send an SMS reminder, maybe schedule it for 18 to 24 hours later. But once customers use Klaviyo a lot, we actually start recommending that they have these separate segments. So one would be an email preferred customer and one would be an SMS preferred customer. So as some people's preferred channel is one or the other. They don't go for email or they don't go for SMS. So actually being able to use that data to say, hey, if this person hasn't opened an email within the past 90 days, but they've been clicking on text messages every time we send them a text, why are we going to go through and waste to send an email and an SMS to them? Let's just skip and bypass that part of it and send them, just meet them on the channel that they're clearly preferred at. And same thing for SMS. So if they haven't clicked on an SMS, but they're clicking on emails, they're clearly an email preferred customer. Make sure that we just meet them at their preferred channel.
Nice.
So I have a question for you. Is your online store generating at least 30% of its revenue from email and SMS marketing? Here at SKU Agency, we have a strategic solution for that. As Klaviyo advisors, we've helped our clients generate millions in revenue from email and SMS alone. Combining the power of both of these channels is key to really reaching your customers and the overall success of your e-commerce business. But to help you better understand the value of email and SMS working together, we decided to offer a limited time, complimentary 45-point audit that will break down that opportunity for you. To get your free audit, go to skuagency.com and click the Book a Call button to get started. Now back to the show.
Well, okay, this is great. And one other question I have to that is that, and this comes up a lot because in the email, obviously, the ability to use images to tell a story. Tell me about SMS. Heavy on the text, but I mean, you can do images. Do you guys recommend it?
So it depends on campaign or like flow by flow. If you're just providing a coupon code, like there's no need to have an image there. It's just going to cost more to send an MMS. So if it's something that's more transactional, like, hey, your order's been placed, or hey, thanks for buying this product, would love for you to leave a review and adding the link, we don't recommend that you use an MMS. But if you're showcasing a new product or an abandoned cart or back in stock flow, that's when you're going to want to showcase that item to make it say, hey, like I forgot, I really liked this t-shirt. Let me go through and come back and complete the purchase. Or, hey, this new spring line just dropped. let me go through and see what else they have for options.
Nice, nice. And what's with the one email on, the one SMS message on abandoned cart? Why only one? Why can't you do two?
I, I honestly don't know why that restriction came into play. Maybe because I'm assuming there were some bad actors that were just spamming people, sending them text after text after text, being like, hey, buy this, buy this, buy this. You left this behind. And again, SMS is very intimate, but I don't know the full on logistics of actually why. That's just my personal guess.
Yeah. Well, if anybody's listening who can make decisions, just one more. Yeah. What else? One more. It would be even more effective. That's great. So that's a good way. Imagery is also, obviously important. So there are certain situations where maybe it warrants putting that image in the SMS, but then it becomes MMS. Otherwise, just go text. Simple. Put a link in there. So if I'm a merchant and I've been doing email through Klaviyo for a few years now, and now I get wind because I'm starting to see a lot of marketing around SMS and the importance of it. What is involved in adding that channel within my Klaviyo account? And obviously, come to an agency if you need help on that. But for anybody else out there who's not, who wants to try it, test it out, which is a lot of clients want to do that. They just want to see how it goes. What's the process like?
Well, first, I would tell them to go to SKU Agency.
You guys are good with the plugs. I really got to say, thank you. I didn't even need to set myself up on that one. You were going to come in and say it, right?
Exactly. But secondly, I'd recommend just starting off by turning on SMS into your account. So within Klaviyo, it's free to turn on. You just go into your settings, you click SMS, and you just click Get Started with SMS. What that does is it gives you a toll-free phone number for free, and Klaviyo will auto-verify that phone number for you. The verification process usually takes somewhere between 7 to 10 days. So we like to have customers go through and actually use those 7 to 10 days to get some basics set up. And what the basics would be like getting your welcome series set up. So that way, when somebody does subscribe for SMS, you're going to be sending them that text. The last thing that we want to have happen is to people to have that option to sign up for SMS. They're signing up. They don't get any confirmation and they don't know what to expect for signing up. And then we send them a campaign 2 months from now. That leads to higher unsubscribe rate, as these clients were hoping to hear from you for SMS or hoping to get that discount code via text, and they didn't get it. So we recommend that you start by just turning on SMS. And then the next step would be to go through and get your welcome series set up. And then the third step would be to actually create a sign-up form for collecting SMS consent. Okay. And that's very simple by just clicking in your forms on Klaviyo, adding a step, collect SMS consent, and then the sign-up form is already live.
Okay, let's talk about that form really quickly because you guys call it the two-step form. What am I saying on step 1 versus step 2? Step 1 being email, most likely being email, correct?
Yeah, so we recommend leading with email. We don't want to cannibalize your SMS list growth or your email list growth just to capture SMS. We want both channels to grow, and we want both people to have the option to opt in. So that's why we recommend starting with, hey, maybe get 10% off or whatever discount it is for email. Lead with that one first. And then when somebody clicks continue, what most merchants do are either, hey, do you want to upgrade your discount to get 15% off? Put in your phone number, or do you want to join our VIP list and get first access to items back in stock, new launches, and creating that exclusiveness with SMS is the most effective way to grow your list. Last thing we want is just to have somebody say, hey, join SMS with no call to action, and there's no understanding of the benefits of joining SMS. So we really focus on providing some sort of value to join SMS.
Okay, no, that's great. This question comes up a lot. I don't have an SMS list. We're talking about this two-step form. This is obviously one way to start, capturing those SMS numbers. What are some other ways? I mean, I know like in Shopify, you've got that ability to capture at checkout. There's a checkbox here. Is that, do you guys recommend that? I mean, is it literally saying, put it wherever you can put it to get people onto the SMS list, right?
Yeah, we recommend you put it everywhere. So, like to your point, Shopify consented checkout, have the option there, especially if you're doing transactional messaging, like, hey, your order's been placed, your order's been shipped. You want to provide them with your shipping info.
Hmm.
That's a great way to go through and say, hey, do you want updates on marketing as well as your order status? Like, check this box to go through and collect consent. We also recommend going through and grabbing the low hanging fruit. Send an email out to all of your existing customers, your engaged SMS or your engaged email subscribers to say, hey, we just added SMS. Here's the benefits of joining SMS. So clearly outline why somebody should be joining your SMS list in an email, and then have just a button there that will redirect them to a landing page and just say, if they click this link, awesome, thanks for joining, take your 10% off. It's a great way to get a quick win for a sale, as well as capture some additional data there.
Okay. Well, what are some of those things that you would recommend to put into that email to encourage them to join the SMS list?
Yeah, great question. So we recommend going through, and obviously it depends business by business, but we recommend providing an incentive and then also outlining, hey, this is the benefits. Like, you're going to get early access to all of our products. You're going to be on a first to know basis. You're going to get exclusive discounts for Black Friday, Cyber Monday, and any other major holiday. We're going to go through and make sure that you get your information first. So when there is, whether it's email or SMS, you're on that first to know basis. So not even just outlining it strictly for SMS, but also letting them know that becoming a VIP member has its benefits.
Nice, nice. That's great. And what if I'm omni-channel? What if I, have a brick and mortar store, whether I use Shopify POS or maybe I use Square, right? Any of the various POS systems. What do you recommend there? I mean, that's a lot of times people are coming in, they're okay with giving their phone number because they can get a text message with the receipt a lot quicker. What would you say to an omni-channel merchant that has a brick and mortar location on helping the store at the store level collect those numbers?
Yes, so you can collect within store. If you're within Shopify, it makes it a little bit easier. So if you're using Shopify POS and you have that succinct to your ecom store, then you'll be able to pass that consent over immediately.
Mhm.
If you are using a third party other than Shopify, you can still pass over SMS consent. It would just be via API.
Okay.
Should be able to go through and still collect those phone numbers and those emails and pass them over. They just wouldn't be as immediate as it would be
Mhm.
within Shopify. It'd probably take a couple of minutes rather than instantaneous, but you still have the ability to pass over that data due to Klaviyo's open API.
That's great. That's great. And would you recommend, in that scenario, to segment that POS or that in-store customer so you can speak to them, I guess, in a different way about different offers and different things right away?
Definitely. So we would recommend when you bring over that customer, if you have multiple store locations,
Mhm.
maybe just add a tag to that to say, hey, they're a store purchaser and they bought in the Boston area. So that way, if there's a flash sale within your brick and mortar store in one area but not the other, you can
Mhm.
target based on that location to say, hey, today we're doing an in-store like fall clean out.
Mhm.
Come on by and get everything on clearance.
Nice.
And that way you're not sending it to everybody, but you're just sending it to those people within that, say, 5 to 10 mile radius.
Nice, nice. Well, so now we talked about the merchant who already had email and now they want to add, SMS. They're interested in it. Let's talk about, somebody coming in, fresh, has a good following out there. Maybe hasn't really relied too much on email in the past or doing other marketing, using other marketing channels. Are you seeing people just doing SMS and not email? Is that happening out there?
Yeah, it's
Hmm.
definitely happening. A lot of big influencer brands are doing
Hmm.
that. So they'll say, I'm sure people have seen it on Instagram where somebody who is like an Instagram influencer will say, hey, this brand I love, like Binda's face cream or something, text Jack to this number
Hmm.
to get 10% off and then go through and come on the website. So they'll go through and actually use that sort of text to subscribe capability to
Hmm.
grow their list and make sure that they're capturing that data and seeing, hey, is this influencer pulling in enough money as we're paying them? is it worth it? And kind of getting those additional data points and those analytics within your marketing outreach.
Nice, nice. Yeah, and maybe we should maybe just touch on this as well, because I know that inside of Klaviyo, you guys have push capabilities, push marketing or push notifications. We recently had Sina Mobasser from Tapcart on, and that's a big reason why there's push in there, that relationship with Tapcart. How are you seeing that working? So now all of a sudden I have email, I have SMS, and I have push. I have 3 different channels. Are you seeing, how do you see that working? And what's the best strategy in a scenario like that?
So the best strategy would be to have everything consolidated under one within Klaviyo. So not using like a tap card or something like that, because we don't get that information. But within Klaviyo, we could say, hey, if they've received this push notification and we're going to send an email and an SMS of the same notification, like, let's go through and remove those people. So we're not sending the same content on 3 channels now.
Right.
And then you can go through and say, hey, if they didn't receive this push notification because they weren't allowed this and they missed this sort of promotional sale, that's when we want to go through and add like an email or an SMS. So being able to just create that logic of what's working right now is what we see have the highest results.
Okay. Yeah. So if a brand is using Tapcart for their mobile side of things, and they have that integration happening with Klaviyo. So the automation side of push can happen inside of Klaviyo. The SMS obviously can happen inside of Klaviyo, and the email is happening in Klaviyo. But really, kind of building that cohesive strategy where you're not, because I guess this happens. People ask this as well. I don't want to bombard people with the same messages in all 3 channels. I want to be very strategic about it. But you made a good point. You're going to know very quickly which channel they're gravitating towards, right? Is it SMS? Are they really heavy on the SMS? Well, then let's not send them email. Maybe they're heavy on the push. Maybe they're really totally into the push side of things. All right, well, let's not send them SMS and let's not send them email. But to have the capability to do all 3 and work, that seems to be where the magic is, right?
Correct. And everybody seems to be worried about, hey, I don't want to over inundate like my customers with content, right?
Yeah.
Like that's the worst case scenario, because it leads to unsubscribe rates, not only of just one channel, but multiple channels. So if you're bombarding me with emails and SMSs and pushes, I'm probably going to unsubscribe from at least 2 and just stick with my preferred channel.
Nice.
And that kind of limits you on your outreach to that customer from now on.
Yeah.
So making sure that you're
check and balance, I guess, if you will, right?
Exactly. Yeah.
Okay. No, it's very interesting. Having all 3 of those working. I think again, it's the power of all 3, really. At the end of the day, to have the capability to use all 3. But we're here obviously to talk about the power of SMS in all of this. So we talked about the fastest way to grow your list. How to add SMS, and obviously some brands that are just using only SMS, which is very interesting to me, because I feel like, again, I try to look into the future. What does it look like in 5 years? Is it that, is it people just coming and saying, all right, get me going on SMS. I don't know about this email thing. Seems like old school. I want that. I want the thing that people are actually paying attention to. I still believe that email is going to be very strong. I love my email. Yeah, that's great.
I mean, I don't think email's ever going to die.
Right.
But from what we're seeing, like the average person gets 112 emails a day, most of which are not read.
Right.
Yeah.
Wow.
So most of which are not read. But to your point, what you made earlier is that 90% of all text messages are read by the end of the day. So read within 24 hours.
Yeah.
So it's just a quicker, more transactional way to get in front of your customers. And as like demographics show, the younger demographics like millennials and even younger than that are preferring SMS over email.
Yeah. I think I mentioned this last time on the show, and I see it. I just keep being reminded of it. My 12-year-old son, he just does not check email. I mean, I think maybe he has to for school to get an assignment, but there's no communicating with him via email. I mean, he asked me to send him something the other day because, can you just text it to me? I said, well, it's kind of a big file. He goes, can you just put it in the cloud and just give me a link? Okay, fair. Fair. All right. In my head, I just pop onto my email, attach it and send it. And he's like, probably not going to check that, Dad. I'm not going to look at that. And that's going to happen more and more, right? You're going to see that. And that's why brands are, that's why those percentages are saying that, consumers are more open now than they have ever been to receiving a text message from a brand. No, that's great. This is a fascinating world and changing so quickly. So tell me how, there are other players out there in the space. I mean, you guys mentioned them on your webinars. Everybody knows there's Postscripts and there's Attentive and there's Emotive. Tell me how Klaviyo, from your standpoint, how Klaviyo differs, how you guys shine, against the competition, if you will.
Yeah, great question. And we get this all the time about like SMS. It's not a product that is reinventing the wheel. It's a pretty straightforward thing, right?
Mm-hmm.
Like just sending a text. And where Klaviyo really makes that difference is having correct attribution.
Mm-hmm.
So the ability to say, hey, like, did this convert through push? Did this convert through email? Did this convert through SMS? Or was this organic? This really allows you within your flows, your marketing outreach, creating lists, creating segments, to say, hey, like, what works? Is it email? Is it SMS? Or is it push? To make sure that you're meeting your customers at their preferred channel. When you have things siloed in other platforms, I mean, this is just tech 101. Every tech company wants to take attribution.
Sure.
And you add up all their numbers from revenue and sales. And it's like, I'm looking at my Shopify, it said I made 1 million.
Mm-hmm.
But if you add up Tapcart, Postscript, and Klaviyo, I made 10 million.
Mm-hmm.
So understanding, hey, like, what's working, what is actually going to be on this particular profile, their preferred channel, and being able to make sure that you're being as effective as possible while not bombarding your customers.
That's great. That's great. Well, I guess I've mentioned, where I think SMS is in the next 5 years. Where do you think it is? And, do you guys sit around and talk about this, about the future of SMS? You must, since you guys are leading into it so much.
Yeah, we talk about SMS and the future of SMS a lot. And kind of where we're thinking is we don't think email will ever die, especially for like brands that you're maybe not as loyal to. So you'll sign up for email, but you're not going to be like their VIP customer. Whereas SMS will mainly just be for your VIP. So people subscribe to brands for SMS that they're buying products from like on a monthly basis or really love their brand. Like you look at a Lululemon and some of their like returned customer stats are crazy. So people will sign up for SMS for them, but maybe for Nike, they'll just be on email because they buy more infrequently. So we see SMS kind of taking over the VIP space and email becoming more of your like average customer, not those consistent buyers.
Wow. Yeah, that's great. And gotta love to sit in one of those meetings, see where you guys, where those future, what does it look like in the future? I always find that to be fascinating. Tell me, this question, comes up also when we talk to clients for the first time about SMS. How do you respond to customers who, well, I mean, they're used to getting an SMS message in normal everyday life and then responding to it, right? Now they're getting it from a brand and they're going to respond as opposed to email, because sometimes you see that no reply or, which you really shouldn't be doing. You should have it like your customer service email so people can actually reply to you. But what does it look like in a world of SMS and inside of Klaviyo if a customer responds to a brand? What do you do? Where do you go?
Yeah, so we have a couple different options. If you're using like a Gorgias or a Zendesk, you can actually have that create a ticket within your Gorgias and Zendesk, and you can actually go through and respond via Gorgias or Zendesk, and it would actually send back as a text. We also have the ability to do SMS conversations within Klaviyo for those brands who don't have that full-on customer support team, and they're more of like a one-man or two-man shop. You can actually go through and respond within Klaviyo itself. So you'll get an email notification saying, "Hey, so-and-so just responded to your text." You'll get a brief like rundown of what they said. And then you'll also get a notification in the Klaviyo dashboard saying, "Hey, somebody responded to your campaign," and you can respond to them and text back and forth their questions. and make sure that you're answering them.
That's phenomenal, and I could see, definitely in the beginning, that's probably the best place to go. But that could add up very quickly. So as your brand is growing, you're getting a lot of messages, you're in there all the time, back and forth. It might be easier to manage it within a Gorgias or a Zendesk. So glad those integrations are definitely in place now. Are there any brands that are doing SMS really well that you just, you see them and you're like, even if they're not maybe using Klaviyo, just out of curiosity, more from a, your perspective?
Yeah, Ruggable does a really good job at providing. They are a Klaviyo customer. I'm being biased here, but they do a really good job at sending relevant information to their existing customers. So they really focus on sending, hey, if somebody bought X product, when we release a similar design or a similar outreach, let's go through and make sure we're getting in front of them as effectively as possible by saying, hey, we know that you liked the summer one.
Mm-hmm.
Make sure you check out our spring rug to change up for the season, or our fall rug to change up for the season. So they do a really good job of keeping their customers engaged and buying multiple products through SMS based on their existing behaviors.
Nice. And they also use, I assume, email too, right?
Exactly. They use Klaviyo for email and SMS.
No, that's great. Are there any integrations that are, coming out? Maybe, maybe you can't speak to what's coming out, but maybe the ones that are already there. Any other pieces of software that really work well utilizing SMS? Any of your partners out there that, we could point to and kind of check out?
Yeah. So we really recommend, obviously, for the support side of things, Gorgias and Zendesk.
Mm-hmm.
But if you have replenishable items, we really focus on recharge, letting people know if you have that subscription base and you have that replenishable item that every 30 to 45 days they need to go and buy again. Having that recharge connection within Klaviyo really helps to say, hey, by now you should have received, or you're about to go through and get X product. If you want to respond, click this link and bring them back to your recharge page, and they can change what products they're looking to buy. Things like that. So if you have some sort of thing that needs to be bought multiple times or a subscription model, we really, really recommend recharge.
Yeah, it's great. We just wrapped up a recharge integration for one of our clients, and they're also using Klaviyo for email and SMS. And yeah, it's a must if you're in that world of replenishment. Yeah, absolutely, 100% must in there. And the customer service, completely get that. Your brand gets to a point where you just can't, you're not cutting it with email in terms of your email client, sitting there and responding to people, that you need some sort of place to manage Gorgias and Zendesk. And there are a lot of integrations out there. You guys have a lot of good integration partners. So, I would recommend that anybody who needs, you're either, if you're working with an agency, the agency is going to sit there and, search for you, provide you with some, some knowledge on what some good ones. I know you have Loyalty Line for the loyalty side of the business, some other ones too. So, this is a powerful time in the world of owned marketing, and this, SMS falls into that owned marketing. Maybe just speak to that. Why is it so powerful? Why this world of owned marketing? How come it's got this power behind it right now? What's happening?
Yeah, great question. So first party data is going to be the game changer of what takes a business from good to great. So being able to actually own your true data. We saw what happened with Facebook when they go through and had that fight with Apple. And now there's all these changes of creating temporary emails within Apple where you can subscribe and not have Facebook have access to that data, which then creates an increase in advertising costs. So now in order to do your Facebook and Instagram ads, you basically need a PhD to do it. It's so confusing. It's so hard to make sure that you're hitting the right customers because that's not your data anymore. Facebook owns that, and so does Apple, and they're not sharing that data together. Whereas if you can own it yourself and have everything under one roof, you don't need to rely on Facebook or Apple to go through and to get your message across. You can own that channel on email, SMS, or push. You can say, I don't need to pay Apple or Facebook to do this campaign. I'm just going to send them a text, an SMS, or a push notification about it.
Okay. Yeah, and that is exactly what it is. What do you say to the brands out there that, that top of the funnel, maybe it's their early days, that top of the funnel marketing initiatives like paid advertising or search engine optimization or some of the other ones, they're important, right? You got to bring traffic in because email and SMS is going to effectively work even better if you have that traffic. Is there a certain point where you say, okay, you can cut that off? Or do you always do it, but you do a better job of capturing that data on your site because then you own it, right?
Yeah, I was going to say, so we recommend that you still do some sort of advertising to drive traffic to your site. That's going to obviously ensure that you're growing your list. You're able to send emails, you're able to capture that data, but scale it down as you start to grow your list. Like you don't need to be spending and have such a high budget if you're able to still get your point across to a lot of those customers who are going to see that ad already. So being able to actually scale that down and focus more on your own data and creating your own content, and really just making sure that you're the one reaching out to your customer with the message you want to say rather than Facebook or Instagram having that choice for you.
Okay. I have just a quick follow up there. In terms of content, if you're creating content on your site, whether it's in the form of a blog, maybe you're doing video, maybe you're doing a podcast for your brand, do you recommend in the world of SMS to send, hey, we just put this new blog up on this particular topic, 10 reasons why this, whatever it is. Do you recommend sending that via SMS, or is that better served sending out via email?
That really all depends on that one. Wherever they're going to be preferred to reach that, like to be reached at. So using that, hey, if they haven't clicked on an email, maybe then send an SMS, or if they haven't clicked on an SMS, send it as an email. But also use some behavioral things within Klaviyo to say, hey, like if this blog is about a specific hair product or a specific hair type, let's go through and send it to those people. Don't send it to everybody. Make sure that when you're sending an SMS, that it's relevant and it's got some sort of reason for me to click on it. Whereas if you send it to just your whole list, somebody could be like, hey, this doesn't even apply to me. Like, I'm not going to click on it. And it's kind of a waste of a send and a waste of an outreach in order for you to just not get the click.
Okay. So segmenting, even in the world of campaigns, which we do, quite a bit these days, it is, campaigns generally have been sent to everybody. Everybody gets it. But even more so now, we're segmenting even our campaigns. And, this block is getting this block is getting this person doesn't get this. So a lot of segmentation happening, which is another powerful element within the world of Klaviyo. So that's great. So tell me this, last time you talked about it, that one big tip, and, it was, kind of general, but, let's talk about SMS specifically. Is there one thing, you talk to merchants again all day long, and you get to see a lot of different accounts. Some of them may have representation with an agency, so they're going to go to the agency, but the other ones are probably calling you guys and saying, I don't know how to do this and I don't know how to do that. What one tip would you give them that could really shift and change their, the trajectory of their SMS opportunities?
Yeah. So one thing we hear all the time is my customers won't like SMS. They won't be receptive to it. And the thing that we say is how do you know that? If you've never done SMS before, how do you know that somebody's preferred channel? You can't generalize everybody's outreach. So having that option of SMS, we don't need to make it a requirement, but saying, hey, if somebody maybe has purchased from you 3 times, they're subscribed for email, but they're not subscribed for SMS. Next time they come back onto the website, say, hey, you could have saved 10% off by being a VIP member. If you just put in your phone number, we'll give you the coupon instead. And that way it's not as hey, go and just sign up for SMS. It's a little bit more personalized. You're giving them that FOMO, wow, I would have saved money if I became a VIP member here. I should just sign up instead. And really focus on your list growth. And SMS is an opt-in channel. I feel like people have the same worries of email where people would buy and sell lists and you'd be like, I've never signed up or heard of this. SMS is so strict that it's an opt-in channel. If somebody's putting in their phone number, they're expecting to hear from you.
Yeah. Yeah. Yes. I'll date myself. It's very much, I feel like in the early days of e-commerce, everybody was afraid to put their credit card number into, at checkout. Yet they were okay calling 800 numbers, for a catalog retailer and giving their giving their credit card number over the phone to somebody they'd never even met before. There was a secure, in the world of e-commerce, there's a secure transaction. So it takes time to remove some of those myths, if you will, that people. So I love that you're telling us, SMS is so regulated. You cannot mess it up. You're protected. And email is maybe not so much, right? I mean, email had to go through a whole process of getting regulated more than it had been in the past. It was kind of a free for all in the early days. You could send anything, but it's very interesting. And so I think your big tip basically is, how do you know it's not working? Have you tried it?
Yeah,
let's try it. I think that's a great, especially in these early days of adoption. So fantastic. So last time you were on, as we wrap this up, we like to do those rapid fire questions, and can't really ask you the same things over again. That doesn't make sense. But I will follow up, and then I got a couple of new ones. I'm just curious. But maybe just before we do that, is there anything else you wanted to talk about and mention just about SMS that we haven't covered?
The only other thing is, I would just say, reiterate, don't generalize your whole customer list. That's what we get a lot. And people say that, hey, my customers won't like this. Do not think of your customers as one person. Everybody's an individual, and everybody has different methods of being outreached to. So really give it a shot, and then make adjustments from there. We have all these analytics and this data within Klaviyo to say, hey, maybe this isn't working right now. Let's shift this SMS up further in a flow, further down in a flow, and really make sure that we're cultivating it as efficiently as possible.
Beautiful. Well said. Maybe they should change your title to the SMS Whisperer. I think I like it. You've got a lot of wise things to say. That's awesome. All right, let's jump into those rapid fire questions. Still drinking those iced mocha black, I believe it was. You got it right there.
I got one right here.
every day. Dunkin' Donuts is owned by the Yum. I think it's the Yum brand or something like that. I think that's who you own stock. You need to get stock if you don't own stock. You get it immediately.
I need to. The headquarters are actually right up the street from me in Canton, Massachusetts. So I might need to go knocking in, being like, "Hey, I'm your most loyal customer."
Yeah, boy, that between that and your love of a certain musician out there that we covered on the last one. If you want to find out who that is, go listen to the last episode. Okay, I'll tell you all about it. But that's awesome. Great. Every day, you should actually see if you can get a tour. And how are they making all this stuff out there? Yeah. So we were talking about last time. One of our rapid fire questions is your go-to software, and you mentioned HubSpot, which I love because we were actually in the middle of vetting them, and we signed on with them. And I'm with you. That is an amazing piece of software. A lot to learn. You got to get in there, really get in there, and get your hands dirty with HubSpot. But not a complicated way. Just a lot of stuff. It's so much you can do. So powerful. Has anything changed? You haven't, since we last spoke. Have you added any other piece of software in your world that's I can't live without?
Yeah, I have recently come to love Recharge for a lot of my brands. So, nice. Especially for the food and beverage industry, where you have those things that, hey, I know that this only lasts you can do all this data research on yourself per company, but say, hey, 10 bottles of this lasts me X amount. Or I buy liquid IVs. I love liquid IVs in my water. I'm signed up for their Recharge, and I'm hey, send it to me every month. Yep, I know what I'm wanting. Nice. It is very, very effective for loyal customers and really drives repeat purchases.
Brilliant. All right, there you go. HubSpot and Recharge now. And then when you come on the third time, we'll see if we can add a third one in there. All right.
Yeah.
So if you could give yourself one talent that you currently don't have, what would it be?
To play the guitar. I'd love to play the guitar and just be able to hang out outside on a summer day and just be able to rock out. It'd be awesome. I'm jealous of the people who can. I don't think I have the hand-eye coordination anymore to do it.
Well, I would ask you the same question you ask your merchants about SMS. How do you know?
I've tried.
You have? Okay, all right. I'm with you too. I mean, I do not play any musical instruments, and I always marvel watching people who play guitar. I tried it once in my life, and probably like you. Yeah, I'm like, I'm just these don't work well. Like this and this.
Yeah.
I do many other things, but that is not one of my strong suits. I should better leave it to the professionals or leave it to people who really know what they're doing. But that's a very, very cool talent to have. I'm with you on that one. Absolutely. So you do a lot of online shopping. You probably do a lot of it on your mobile phone. What's your favorite online store and why?
I'm a big fan of Lululemon and Cuts. Those are probably my two favorite stores. The reason being is like they make it so easy to understand like the sizing of it. So they have like that good sizing chart. I love their materials. And it really makes it so that like when I go on, I'm like, hey, this is what I know what I want. I know what design I'm getting, and I'm going to go and check out.
Nice.
And I'm obviously subscribed to their like easy checkout or Shopify pay within for Cuts. And that gets me all the time.
Nice. This Cuts also have a mobile app, or do they just rely on their the mobile version of their website?
Mobile version of their website, and then they do email with Klaviyo, but they use a competitor who I will not say for SMS. I've been working on that, being like, hey, we need to streamline this.
Yes. Probably locked into one of those long-term contracts.
Exactly.
Yes. Which, by the way, Klaviyo does not do. In case anybody wants to know, it's it's the power. They rely on the power of their platform, and not afraid to say it. Love working with you guys. You guys are constantly innovating, and that's where you need to be. We say that a lot about Shopify. Hopefully everybody, both companies continue to innovate. I heard an interesting stat, just to kind of wrap this up, that 60% of, if I got this right, 60% of Shopify brands are using Klaviyo, somewhere in that neighborhood, right?
Yeah, somewhere in that neighborhood. And that includes free customers and all the way up to paid.
Wow.
So
really?
Yeah,
Wow.
Shopify's our core demographic for sure.
Sure. Yeah, the integration is very tight. It's there's a lot that can be done that can't necessarily be done in some of the other platforms. Yeah, you have a lot more capabilities if you're using Shopify. Not to say you can't. Definitely use Magento, WooCommerce, and capabilities there. And good agency will always make it work for the best for your brand. But definitely, Shopify. Early relationship right between those two brands.
Exactly,
cool.
And SKU will make it work either way.
Yeah, we'll do our best. Well, we always try. We always try. If we can't figure out something, we're going to call Jack right away. So Jack, thank you for coming on again. You broke this down. A lot of great information. You provided a lot of we'll get everything in the show notes too. Different links, recharge, and all the different companies you talked about. Very good pieces of information. And then we'll just keep talking about SMS because I think it's it's clearly here to stay. There's no doubt in that world. But as it continues to become more and more receptive, and I'm going to follow your lead and ask that question too. When we run up against the wall, a brand doesn't want to use SMS. They don't think it's going to work for the Democrat. I'm just going to ask why. Why have you? How do you know? How do you know? That's a great starting place. So thank you. Take a minute. Just let the audience know where they can learn more about Klaviyo, SMS wise and email, as well as, yourself.
Yeah. So you can go to klaviyo.com and you can either click the email or SMS tab. And then we also have resources and case studies on email and SMS and the power of combining both. If you want to connect with me on LinkedIn, my LinkedIn is Jack Binda. I'm more than happy to discuss any questions that you might have within SMS as a whole or Klaviyo in general. And then my email is also jack.binda@klaviyo.com if you want to get a hold of me that way as well.
Beautiful. And just for anybody who may not know how to spell Klaviyo, it's Klaviyo. There you go. And throw a .com on the end of it, and you can find them there. Jack, awesome again. Thank you so much. All right. That brings us to an end of another episode of E-Commerce Revolution Podcast. Don't forget to check out our past episodes, including the one where Jack and Hayden came on to talk about both email and SMS in the world of Klaviyo. Check that one out. We'll drop a link in our show notes. Make sure to subscribe to our YouTube channel. To get any new updates about all these episodes that we're putting out, check us out on LinkedIn and review us wherever you listen to your podcast. As always, if you need help with your email and SMS marketing, you can always reach out to us at hello@skuagency.com. Mention a podcast and we'll hook you up with a free audit worth $850. Thank you very much, everybody. See ya.
This is just the beginning.
If you enjoyed this episode of the E-Commerce Revolution podcast, please subscribe to our channel on YouTube or drop us a review wherever you listen to your podcasts. Thank you very much.